Hello, and welcome to the Practitioner-Scholar, the Penn CLO podcast. In this podcast, we journey through the intersection of academic rigor and real-world impact, spotlighting the practitioner-scholars who are shaping the future of organizational learning and leadership. Whether you're an aspiring leader, a seasoned executive, or simply intrigued by the transformative power of education and research, this is the place for you. So sit back and prepare to unlock new perspectives as we delve into the compelling stories and insights that will define the future of learning and leadership. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Practitioner-Scholar, a Penn Chief Learning Officer podcast. This podcast is produced by the Penn CLO program, which is an executive doctoral degree program at the University of Pennsylvania's Graduate School of Education. The program focuses on organizational learning and leadership and emphasizes a scholar-practitioner approach, meaning what is learned in the program can be readily applied to the workplace. I am your host and also a current doctoral candidate in the program, Jess Jones, and it is my very great pleasure today to welcome our guest, Dr. and Captain John Coach Havlick. Welcome, Dr. Havlick.
Good morning, Jess. Thanks for having me on today.
It's a pleasure to be with you today. Now, Dr. Havlick, you graduated with your undergraduate degree from West Virginia University with a bachelor's in business administration, where in your spare time, you were a 4-year swimming letterman and the first swimmer in your school's history to qualify for the U.S. Olympic swimming trials, an honor which led them to later induct you into their Hall of Fame. Meanwhile, after graduating from WVU, you enlisted in the Navy to be a swim coach at the U.S. Naval Academy, which inspired you to change course in your life and become a naval officer and attend Navy SEAL training. After training, you went on to lead special operations teams around the world, including for the Naval Special Warfare Development Group, the SEAL's most elite operational special mission unit. You led the elite of the elite. And somehow, during your naval career, you also obtained a master's degree in National Security and Strategic Studies at the U.S. Naval War College. You retired after 31 years, and while some people might decide that was a good time to maybe advance your golf game, you started your own company, JRH Consulting, where you offer consulting on leading high-performing teams and individuals. You co-authored a book with your former WVU teammate about hubristic leadership, and then got a second master's degree and your doctorate in education at University of Pennsylvania, where you studied how elite performers cope with stress. Wow, I am tired just talking about everything you've accomplished. Now, I want to get to your most recent research on how to cope with stress, but before I do, I'd love to talk about you and your book for just a minute. Your book is titled The Leadership Killer: Reclaiming Humility in an Age of Arrogance. It seems like if anyone has the right to be just a little bit arrogant, it would be you. Can you tell us more? Who is Dr. and Captain John Coach Havlick, and what were you seeking to accomplish with your book?
Thanks for the introduction, Jess. I appreciate all the accolades. Who is Dr. John Havlick? I just think I was a common kid, grew up in a very blue-collar town and outside of Baltimore, Maryland, and just got a unique opportunities to swim in college and get a degree and have that paid for just by swimming fast. What a great concept, and resonated pretty well with me, and I continue to do that. And somehow, like you mentioned, I was selected for the Hall of Fame, which that was never a goal of mine. It's nice to know I was rewarded for my efforts in the pool. And then I'm going to go be a swim coach. That seemed the logical progression as I used up my eligibility. And so I did that for a few years and then got the unique opportunity to coach at the academy, the Naval Academy. And so I used that, went there, joined the Navy, and never thinking I would go in the military, even though I'm an Army brat. And I just used that opportunity, great venue, great institution, to start molding and building. So that's what I did. And then one day I always remember meeting a Navy SEAL, and who had just checked on board at the academy. He was a graduate of the academy, played soccer, and he came by the pool just to see when the lap swim hours were. I talked to him for a long time, and I had no clue what a Navy SEAL was. So I did a little research, became a friend. We worked out together. He became a good confidant. And the next thing I know, I'm changing mid-course what I thought I was going to do with my life, and was going to pursue this opportunity to become commissioned as a naval officer, go into SEAL training and try it out. I did it. I took advantage of the opportunity, somehow made it through, even though the normal attrition rate in SEAL training is 70 to 75% don't make it through. And I made it through and just went on. And as long as they kept promoting me and giving me opportunities and new assignments, I said, why not? Next thing I know, 31 years went by, but it was a great opportunity. I loved every minute. I loved being a SEAL. I loved supporting, defending my country. And so I carried on, but my time ran out. So I got out and just tried to figure out what I was going to do next. And I love just doing unique and challenging things. So I wanted to try new opportunities outside of the government or the military sector. And so consulting, a job, the opportunity to write a book, which I never thought I would do, and co-author it with a good friend of mine on a topic that is very, I think, somewhat controversial, because no leader wants to be called out on their ego, so to speak. But I think it's very relevant. And then the opportunity at a book signing, someone mentioned going back to school, and I said, hey, why not? And they called the CLO program because they were past graduates. And next, they filled paperwork out. I was accepted and went on, and so very glad I did. So hopefully that's a quick down and dirty about me and where I'm at.
Thanks, John. Listening to you talk, I understand a little bit more now about that hubristic leadership. You definitely embody that just in the way you talk about your career. So now you've written a book, then you decide to attend the University of Pennsylvania Penn CLO program to get your master's and your doctorate in education. Most people get a doctorate degree so they can write a book, but here you are already a published author, a very accomplished leader before deciding to start the Penn CLO program. And as a side note, I believe you did that just a month before your 60th birthday. So after all of these stated accomplishments, how did you feel about graduating and getting your doctorate in the Penn CLO program?
A lot of people question my decision about starting to go back to school. I didn't think I was over the hill, but your cognition, your learning abilities, your memory retention tend to lessen as you get older. I had a lot of one-on-ones with myself if you do this, it's going to be very rigorous, very demanding. And I felt it was a great time to do it, and I was ready to do it. And so the opportunity came up, I did it. And yeah, so glad I did it. And when I walked across stage a year and a half ago, basically, I was pretty excited. It was one of the few graduations I've walked the stage for. I just thought it was a tremendous accomplishment. I was very proud of myself and very proud to be a Penn graduate. Again, another one of those things when I look back on my life is like, I never thought I'd go to an Ivy League institution, get this opportunity to do it. And so I was proud of myself and very excited to do it.
Congratulations on your graduation. And I have to ask, as someone who is a current student and for other people that are working through maybe rigorous academic programs, did you use some of your tips and tricks from your SEAL training to help you get through the academic rigors of the Penn CLO program?
Yep. Somehow I did. I tied it all together. What did I use from arguably the hardest training in the U.S. military, the most physically and mentally demanding, to get through the program? We have key sayings, key mottos that we use throughout SEAL training. One of them is the only easy day was yesterday. That is a SEAL motto. And you definitely live that, learn it during training, and then you carry it on through your career, however long that may be. But I find it's something I take on now as I continue. It was definitely for the program. So I just said, how did I get through the rigors of training? What tips did I use? And so I took that motto, the only easy day was yesterday, and I changed it to read the only easy paper was the last one submitted. And then I took another saying in SEAL training is you take Hell Week, the infamous Hell Week, one day at a time. And I kind of looked back on it and I says, well, I'll take this dissertation, one interview, one chapter at a time, and I'll take the program one block, one paper at a time. And so by using those little tips and strategies, these simple mottos, it helped me take the enormity of the project or what was ever expected of me and break it down into more manageable segments that I could control and do quality work. And so that's how I used it, simple things like that to get through the rigors of the Penn program. So
that's a great opportunity to talk a little bit about that research. Your study is entitled How U.S. Special Operations Service Members Cope with Deployment Stress and How U.S. Senior National Team Swimmers Cope with Competition Stress to Perform Maximally. First off, can you break that down for us a little bit and tell us why this study?
My master's I did research and wrote about deployment stress because it's something I experienced, and there's still a lot of ongoing issues with veterans and active duty personnel returning from deployment. And even despite all the studies and all the training and work programs that are offered, it's still an issue. And so I wanted to study deployment stress. And the beauty of the Penn program was I was allowed to go into and do papers on things that I never thought I'd do, but I was comfortable with and knew. So this was a great opportunity. And so one of the things I did on my research when I found out was that one of the biggest obstacles and mental challenges for U.S. Olympic athletes is stress management and coping. And I'm like, okay, it's a problem. I think I handled it pretty well. I felt this was a great opportunity to take what I had learned from my master's and then apply it into what I found out was to me when I scoured the research database, the scholarly databases, I found a lot of parallel efforts on how you handle stress in various occupations. But no one had actually taken two groups of highly elite, high-performing individuals and studied them and found the similarities and differences on how they cope with stress as they prepare, in this case, the U.S. national team swimmers, how they prepare for that most elite athletic competitions like world championships and Olympics, and how elite Navy SEALs cope with getting prepared to perform on the battlefield. And so that was the gist, the background on why I wanted to conduct this study. And that's what I did.
Coach, your study highlights 4 main findings that are consistent among elite performers: absolute trust in your training, adherence to a strict daily routine, focus only on what you can control, and utilize healthy and adaptive distractions. I'm curious, which of these findings do you feel is the most important for people who want to emulate a successful lifestyle?
From the data, I found that both groups used a little bit of all 4 of them as they tried to handle pre-performance stress and cope with it as they got ready to perform. But I believe the most common and one they stressed the most was adherence to a strict routine. And when you think about it, when you get in a routine, especially as an elite athlete, they know everything about their body, what makes it click, what's good, what's bad. Mind and body, they are dialed in on what it takes when they get up on the block to get ready to race. And the same thing with SEALs. You get on that routine, especially on deployment, which we call our battle rhythm. It sets your schedule. Okay, this has to be done. This is when I get up. This is what I have to do to get ready to go out. And this is when I go to bed. Really drives everything. So routine to both groups really allowed them to get ready to prep and prepare, and allowed them to control those events, to plan and prepare, and be able to respond to events they couldn't control, or to best respond to events, uncontrollable events, to incorporate the things that make them work, those healthy and adaptive distractions that help them take their mind away a little bit from the upcoming enormity of the event. Swimming at the Olympics, come on, let's go. That's huge. And representing Team USA or stepping out into the wire to conduct a combat operation. It's life and death, and it's huge. And so what helps me divert me a little bit, help me relax a little bit before I have to go out and do this, and then use the training you've used. It all incorporates into a routine. So that's long answer, but I believe adherence to a strict routine is the way to go with both groups.
I love doing interviews because you never know what you might learn from someone. For example, understanding that a consistent routine is so important really resonates with me and what I found to be successful. So I love that's something that came out of your study. I'm curious, in your interviews, what was one thing from the interviews from each group, so the elite swimmers and the elite SEALs, that maybe surprised you?
I'll say this. I remember it as a swimmer. I had great opportunity during my summers between school to swim at a very highly elite program. Several Olympians, several world champions, gold medalists, world record holders. And I'm swimming in this lane with them. And when it came to racing, something clicked inside of them. And they reacted differently and they thought differently than I did or normal people that I've worked with. They know how to race. They know when it's time to turn on. And so the finding with the swimmers was they just don't think like normal people. That's the mental difference. They may have the physical traits, but the mental side is so much different as you get higher in athletic competition. With the SEALs, the biggest surprise was their faith. And everybody thinks, oh, they're macho, super type A, all these other traits that maybe have been over dramatized in books and movies and things like that. But the belief in faith and how they needed it. And I always remember one of my re-interviewees, the biggest thing he found, the thing that shocked him the most was he never met so many closeted Catholics in his life until he went on deployment. and I'm a Catholic, so I totally understand. But it's, hey, what I'm doing is going to involve life and death or potential injury to myself, my teammate, or something like that. So the concept of faith and how they used it to help them get ready was very surprising to me.
John, there are so many important things that have come out of your study. I'm just curious, why do you feel your study and your findings are so essential to so many people?
Well, I think the big thing when I defended and when I talk about my study and why I'm proud of it is because I used that all. So how did I get through swimming at elite levels? How did I get through SEAL training? How did I lead high performing super type A individuals for 31 years? How did I get through the Penn program? I talked about it earlier. I use these findings. And so it's not what I feel great about my study is that it provides anyone in the general populace, regardless of gender, race, occupation, strategies and tips with coping with to better cope with everyday stress, to lead healthier lives. And so you don't have to schedule a doctor's appointment. You don't have to pay for that doctor's appointment. It's non-medicinal, so you don't have to take a pill or a drug or something. These are common sense approaches identified by two elite high-performing groups that they use. They're common sense. Anybody can use them without having to see a doctor, take a pill, pay a copay. And so it can be used by anybody. And when I think about one of the goals of the CLO program that you mentioned earlier was that it's a scholar practitioner program and it can be research focused. So you want to use those findings, the findings of that research in your study that can be shared and applied to the workplace through best practices. And when I think about it, I believe my study and the findings meet these goals. And so I'm very proud of that.
Maybe building off that a little bit, how can our listeners use your study and the findings to live healthier and more productive lives?
Well, just look at 4 and hey, am I a routine person? So a lot of people aren't, hey, I just go with the flow and, you know, you get crazy. I mean, a lot of people, they don't get their morning coffee, it just their day is, they start their day messed up, I'm like, but you're out of your routine, even though you say you go with the flow. Okay. Well, set up a routine. If it's a new concept that you're not familiar with, why not try instead of just being haphazard, and why not set up a routine, get a little more structure in your life? Because like what I found, and I mentioned earlier, once you get in that routine, you can utilize the training you've gotten, or you can also identify, I need more training, and find that time in your schedule to schedule it and get it completed. It allows you to respond to uncontrollable events or better manage the stress that comes with all those the uncontrollable, unforeseen things that influence everyday life. And then you can be yourself and utilize those things that help you adapt. Swimmers use a lot of social media. That was huge for them, especially when they're in that ready room, when the cameras are looking at them before they step out on the block at the Olympics. I can't think of a more stressful event, okay, than for me jumping out of an airplane at 25,000 feet. So how did I handle that stress? I worked out. SEALs love working out. That was one of the things. And so take the findings, read them, and try to incorporate them in their own lives. Doesn't cost anything. You don't have to go see a specialist or anything. You don't have to pay a copay. It's out there. It's free, and a lot of people use those things, and they're common sense.
Thanks, Coach. And we're talking here on the Penn CLO podcast, so I just have to ask, what influence has your Penn CLO experience and the research you were able to conduct had on your personal and your professional journey?
I will tell everybody that going to Penn and doing the program was probably one of the best things I've ever done. I've performed and trained and coached and led at the highest levels of athletics. I've coached, led, and performed at the highest levels in the military. Now in academia, I've learned and I've completed, and as you're finding out, no doubt as a student, it comes with a lot of expectations and rigor. And so I completed that at the highest levels. So the opportunity to get that master's and a doctorate from a very elite, prestigious university was a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I feel it's rounded me out, and it's prepared me for, some people say, I think about it, I don't think I'm there yet, but the back half of my life, the second nine of my life for those golfers out there, as I head towards the clubhouse. I don't think I'm there yet, but I like to look at what I did in the program and the opportunity that people I met and networked with, and just to use it and give back. And that's my goals now, is to use my findings, my experiences, and give back and help people out.
What an amazing way to focus on whatever, I'm not going to say the back half, but the next phase for you.
No, I still got a lot. I got a lot to get.
No question. No question. Anyone that knows anything about your life would have to agree. And on that note, you've had a really varied life. You've had a lot of leadership. You've performed at the highest levels in athletics, coaching, military, academia. I'm just curious, as we wrap up, which has been the most rewarding and maybe the most challenging for you? And what's next up for the coach?
As far as what was the most rewarding and challenging of the athletics, the military, and academia, I believe each one had organic challenges and rewards associated with it. To train and compete at an elite level in athletics, and I guess ultimately do well enough that I got inducted into my university's Sports Hall of Fame, is a great honor. So that's the ultimate reward to me as an athlete. As far as a coach, to work with a swimmer or another athlete and see them perform and at a great level at a championship meet after a long, arduous season is the ultimate reward for a coach. The military, everything about being a SEAL was and is a challenge. And the motto of the school of the SEALs is, the only easy day was yesterday. And you find out even after basic training, when you think you've done it all, that training really hasn't begun, and your career every day is challenging. So the reward is meeting those challenges and doing well and going on to the next one. Also, the reward of leading, the opportunity to lead some of the most bravest and elite performers and people in the world was a great honor for me in my career, especially in special operations. And then finally, with academia, the Penn CLO program was a challenge, everything that comes with it. And my greatest reward, as I mentioned earlier in the interview, was walking across stage and getting my diploma and completing it. And so, those were the challenges and rewards of each phase of my life. As far as what's up next for Coach, that's a great question. I get asked a lot. And my best answer is I really don't know, because I don't know what I want to do when I grow up. That being said, a short-term goal for me is to finish writing a scholarly article about my study, submitting it, hopefully having it accepted and ultimately published in a scholarly journal is my short-term goal. As far as my long-term goal, I want to, as I've mentioned several times in the interview, is I want to use my findings to help people better deal with stress and live healthier and more productive lives. And if there's a branch or a sequel to that, is I really want to help veterans like myself who may be struggling or just kind of spinning in life looking for something to do. I just want to explore the option of going back to school and getting an education. And, school isn't for everybody, but if it gives you something to do, something to focus on and keep you going, then why not? And if I can be a spokesperson or a role model, consider going back to school and getting lifelong learning. You can only benefit from it. And that's what I want to do. And that's what I'm going to hopefully do with my study and carry on.
Dr. Havlick, Coach, thank you so much for taking some time to be with us today. It has been such a treat for me to get to know you a little bit better through this podcast, and I cannot wait to see what you do next.
Thanks, Jess. Thanks for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure. And good luck.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of another enriching episode of The Practitioner-Scholar, the PennCLO podcast. We hope you found inspiration in the stories and insights shared today. These narratives serve as a testament to the transformative impact that well-informed leadership can have across organizations and industries. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay engaged as we continue to explore the ever-evolving landscape of leadership and learning. Thank you, and goodbye until next time.